Hello gamers, welcome back, or in case you are new here, I'm NKZL, and in this video I want to talk about Throne and Liberty, because I have played the game for a bit over 250 hours and basically reached the cap on the current content. I have over 3750 gear score and extensively explored almost everything the game has to offer. So it seems appropriate that I talk about the game now that the honeymoon period has passed and I have formed a solid opinion, with both the good and the bad. Before we talk about the actual game, I feel like I need to explain how I view one of the most controversial aspects of the game. The game's economy is based on cash up currency, a bit more restrictive but very similar to Warframe. A model that is extremely successful, and it has been proven to be beloved by gamers in general. I champion this monetization model because it allows people that do not have the means to spend money on the game to also enjoy the cash shop, while at the same time it allows people with very little time to keep up. However, personally, I do not like paying for progression. I do not fault you if you do, but I do believe that paying for progression is paying to have less content, so I just don't do it. That being said, I do spend my money where I spend my time, and when I enjoy a game, I will support it financially by purchasing almost everything fashion related. So before I talked about the game, I wanted to make clear my mindset on this subject and how I play the game. My progression has been achieved through in-game means, while various fashion elements have been purchased with real money. With that out of the way, let's talk about the important stuff, the game itself. Let's start at the beginning. The game features an average character creator. It has a lot of options and decent customization for facial elements, but sadly, when it comes to the body, the sliders have very little impact. This has probably been done for optimization purposes, which, by the way, is absolutely fantastic. However, I am someone that has played MMOs for over 2 decades, and I miss the real variety MMOs used to have. As a result, I would say that the character creator is just acceptable. After you create a character, you will start exploring the world of Throne and Liberty. The world building, the world itself, the pacing of leveling is absolutely fantastic. I cannot overstate how well they are done, and how beautiful this world looks. Before this, BDO used to have the best looking world, but I would say that Throne and Liberty actually looks better. I feel like it's a bit redundant explaining it in a video, as these elements need to be explored for yourself to fully understand. The world is quite massive, but despite this, the main questing experience was just the right length. Unlike some other MMOs, where you can spend half a year stuck in the main quest, leveling, and as a result lose all interest in the game, in Throne and Liberty the pacing is just right, and it speeds up towards the end, making it feel real good. A lot of care and passion has been clearly put into this, and it shows. I've seen so many people that after the leveling experience were expressing how these initial weeks of the game have reignited their passion for MMOs, and how leveling in Throne and Liberty has that spark that most MMOs fail to recreate. Moving on, we should talk about the way you explore this world, more specifically, the fundamental features, starting with combat. This is a classic tap targeting game with action camera optional, basically the ability to target with your crosshair if you so do desire. Given the limitations of tap targeting, the combat feels good. It's nowhere near as good as something like Black Desert, but that is an unfair comparison, because so far, no other MMO even comes close. So when compared with other classic tap targeting games like Final Fantasy XIV or World of Warcraft, it is infinitely better. One unique aspect of combat in Throne and Liberty is that it has other elements that end up mixing with combat, like the grappling hook and morphing abilities. These elements can be used in combat, which brings another level of depth that is not seen in other tap targeting games. The game also features quite decent customization for your skills, and this can end up changing the way you play entirely, giving you more gameplay avenues and elements to explore if you are inclined to do so. Even when focusing on only 2 weapons, I spent countless hours experimenting with different builds. That being said, there is another aspect of gameplay that I know a lot of people enjoy in their MMOs, and that is life skills. Sadly, this aspect is a big disappointment and it is severely lacking. While the life skills that exist are important, they are shallow and they do not come anywhere close to the depth they have in a game like Black Desert or New World, or even Final Fantasy XIV. So if you are someone that enjoys life skilling aspect, sadly, Throne and Liberty will be a complete disappointment, at least for now. These gameplay elements will be explored in the content, and the game started with a decent amount. You have open world events every couple of hours, there are open world bosses and open world dungeons. Some of these activities become PvP about 20% of the time, resulting in the PvP crowd having a decent amount of PvP content. On top of this, there are dungeons and guild raids, which are exclusive PvE content. As for PvP exclusive content, there are arenas and territorial battles, which result in a siege every 2 weeks. The content itself is fairly decent. It's not the best, but both myself and most other people that I have talked with found it to be enjoyable. I did say that for a new MMO it has a decent amount of content, however the unescapable truth is that it is a new MMO, and it simply cannot compete in content with MMOs that have been out for years. And while I do not fault the game for this, I think it needs to be mentioned, so we can have the right level of expectations. Given enough time, content will come, and so far updates have been pretty good. However, we have to wait a few more months before we can make a long-term judgment. But realistically, so far, the updates have been good. All the elements in-game revolve around progression. It's an MMO after all. As someone that is gear capped, and while I still have plenty of skills to upgrade, I am not far from reaching the hard cap of the game. I think that the way they have done the progression is decent. It's fairly easy to perform decently and be competitive, and the fine-tuning and the very small incremental upgrades towards the end are the ones that take more time and resources. This makes it so both casual players and those that play way too much can play with each other without massive problems. The progression also doesn't reset like in the typical theme park MMO with each expansion. It's not the same as in a game like BDO, where your progression devalues very slowly over multiple years, but about 30% of your progression carries over between expansions, which is considerably better than nothing. As a fashionista, I cannot help myself but also mention fashion, because to me it is important and maybe it is important to you too. The fashion itself is actually really good, at least so far. Every single week we had something new and quite different. However, the dyeing system and the way you can combine different pieces of fashion is severely lacking. Costumes are split into body and head, and that's it. You cannot take pieces from one costume and mix and match them to create something unique to yourself. This, coupled with the fact that the dyeing system is nothing impressive, just brings down this aspect of the game that could have been incredibly amazing if they put in just a little bit more work. Just like with the character creator, I believe this might have been done for optimization purposes, but I personally believe there could have been much better solutions. Overall, the fashion aspect of the game is just good enough. The last aspect that I want to mention is the quality of life element, and just like the amazing job they did with the world building, they outdid themselves here as well. From the available options to the way you can miss up to 5 days, the quality of life elements in the game are absolutely stellar. They clearly understood the MMORPG audience, which is primarily adults with real-life responsibilities, and everything in the game is designed around that. Of course, this can be seen as a negative by people that spend 10 hours or more a day gaming, but those people are simply not the target audience for most games. That being said, I heard of people playing multiple characters. However, I cannot comment on it too much because I am not going to waste my time like that. In conclusion, after 250 hours, I believe Throne and Liberty is the best MMORPG that got released in recent years and is definitely worth checking out. We had quite a few attempts at MMORPGs in the recent years, and in my opinion, if you are someone that already played what's on the market, that are looking for something new that is not a barely playable mess, this is very much worth a try. Anyway, if you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, like, subscribe, all that jazz. Or don't. See you in the next one, gamers.